morning. Yeah. So how you doing today, Ms. Doro?
Tired.
So I know that the school year has started, so how's it been?
It's been a rough start, not a rough start. It's just there's been a lot of bumps, unexpected things, some foreseeable, some not foreseeable. That nothing I can't handle, but just it's kind of like, really, one more thing. And I feel like I'm a new teacher all over again. Because last year was my first year back in 12 years and I was teaching virtual. And now now we're in person and it really is. It's two different teaching styles, two different things to do. And so I feel like I'm starting all over again.
Well,
And
didn't you get a half a year that was in the classroom or a quarter of the year or
we
something?
did, but starting off at the beginning of the year is when you set all those expectations. And when I started off virtual last year, a lot of the things that I had down by the end of the year and could go back and look at, like lesson plans or quizzes or whatever, were not as what's the word I'm looking for? The way that I did things at the beginning of the year last year, um, everything not adapt evolved. That's the word I'm looking for. Things evolved, and so by the time the end of the year came around, um, things were a lot smoother. But a lot of that stuff I have to go back and redo. And like some of the activities I had, just I've got better things now.
Well,
Um,
that's a good thing that you have better stuff.
yes, it's that I've been behind from day one. The week before school started was the week that my kids had their wisdom teeth out, and there was something that happened. Like I had something I had to do on Monday. Um, I don't know. There was something like the week before school, I usually don't plan anything so that I have that whole week to prepare. And I had all this other stuff that was planned.
Okay.
The kids had to have their wisdom teeth out, needed to do that before school started. Um, so it just, I've started from behind. I've been behind from the beginning of the year.
Okay.
Now, some of the things that were rocky at the beginning, some of the bumps have been now ironed out. I just found my teacher Chromebook disappeared the first day of school. I just found it this weekend.
All right. I have to ask, where was it?
It was in the trunk of my car. My daughter swore up and down that I did not take it home.
Well,
And okay, she swore I didn't take it out of the building. We'll put it that way.
trusting, and I hate to say it like this, your kid's track record has not been the best for looking.
No, I know, but I know. I know. But there was a bunch of stuff in the trunk, and when all that finally got cleared out, my Chromebook was in a bag underneath all that stuff.
Well, at least it wasn't stolen.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, that's been ironed out. Um, the next thing I have a sneaking suspicion that I purged something I shouldn't have. And this is going to be a good indication to you of why it's hard for me to let go of some stuff. I think I purged my semester 1 notebook at the end of last year.
Oh,
Um, I know, because I seem to be remembering. I mean, maybe I swear sometimes I have vivid memories that I've completely made up. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I have this memory of thinking next year we're going to be in person. I'm never going to be virtual again. I don't need this stuff. What I didn't think about was that all of the same examples in the workbook that I already had worked out, I would still be using this year.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I made that memory up. Like I said, I have vivid memories that have proven to be false.
Well, we all could potentially create stuff based off of pressure, based off of situations.
Mm-hmm.
So we all go through things like that, and we all create situations that may or may not be true.
Yeah. So that notebook still has not turned up. My Chromebook did turn up. I finally figured out, it took a week for me to figure out what my daughter's bus number was. But finally, the right person got back to me, or I got through to the right people or whatever. But I got the information. And so we've been doing the train, because that meant for the first week of school, I couldn't stay after to get caught up. So that was hard. But she's on the bus now. The problem is that, and this isn't so much of a problem, it just starts my morning off a little bit more stressful than it should be. Sometimes her bus transfer is canceled. We don't have enough bus drivers, and I think that's a shortage across the country. But every morning we have to look at the district's website to see, okay, who's canceled today, and it doesn't affect us.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, my school's I'm fortunate to be at a school that understands. And so when her bus is canceled, when her transfer bus is canceled, I have to take her to school. Luckily, as long as there's no accident, which there was the first day I had to take her, I can get over there and back pretty quickly. But it's just one more, when I plan to be at school for an extra 15 minutes to get XYZ done, and I have to instead take her, it just kind of starts my morning off.
Well, I think a lot of school systems right now are struggling with teachers who don't want to be vaccinated.
Mhm.
So you still have schools that had to go virtual because they just didn't have enough teachers.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
So I
So,
think this is going to be an issue for a while.
mhm. There's one of the school districts here in Kentucky, already they like canceled for a whole week. They're virtual for 1 week. Now, Kentucky legislators kind of shot they're afraid they know, especially the rural ones, know they're going to have to use them during snow days. And so they're not wanting to use them for COVID. And so the legislature is the only group that can change that back.
Right.
So, I mean, I love my job, though. I mean, I'm happy every day that I'm with the kids. Well, I won't say my A days are awesome. My B days are challenging. And when I'm not at the top of my game, um, they know it. Kids know, and it's harder to deal with them when you're not if you don't have everything already prepared, if you have a tech mess up, that just takes them off track.
Well,
And
because they are creatures of habit, just like most adults.
yes.
They have to stay in a routine, which
Mm-hmm.
is why we've been talking about you being in a routine so that it's the same thing every day. So it's almost autopilot.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
you can, like I said, I have that horrible habit of if I set an alarm, I usually wake up 2 minutes before my alarm.
I wish I had that horrible habit.
And it's like, oh my God, I want to sleep that 2 minutes. But my body is like, oh, you have a 6:30 alarm. It is now 6:28. And so I'm looking at my phone. I hate you.
Well, a Friday, this past Friday, um, my alarm is set for 5 or 5:15. I got to check my phone and see what's going on, but my phone alarm was not set, and I did not get up until 6:15. Now, keep in mind, our goal is to leave by 6:30.
Yes.
And so I just kind of took a deep breath and I'm thinking, we can still do this. We can still make it. So I purposefully stayed calm. I went in and did my little Mary Poppins, good morning, kids. Said good morning to each kid. And then after I said good morning, I'm like, and I just said the alarms didn't go off. But I said the alarms didn't go off, and because Evans didn't go off, didn't go off anyway. But I said alarms didn't go off. It's 6:15. We got to move quickly. So I said that to each one of them. Got myself ready. Amazingly, we made it. I stayed calm. The only one that did not stay calm was Aaliyah. And I swear, the girl, my friend told me 13 was the hardest age. And I think she's right because, that girl wakes up grouchy. And I've actually started saying, okay, if it's, okay, that morning she got up and she was all mad at the world, and the rest of us just kind of let her rage and let her do her thing. And we were getting ready to head out the door Friday morning, and I said something to her, and she said, "Stop yelling at me." And I looked at Evan and I said, "Did I yell?" He said, "No." So she was just, oh my gosh. And so when we got out to the car, she asked if she could have a Powerade because that's what she likes. And I had some in the trunk. I said, no. I said, as long as Grumpy Aaliyah is here and is yelling at me, you don't get a Powerade. So a couple of hours later in the morning, I texted her and I said, so has Happy Aaliyah come back yet? And she said, yes. And we talked, and it's kind of funny talking to her in the third person, talking about it in the third person almost seems like it's easier for her to deal with, maybe.
Because because to her, it's not confronting her.
I think so. Because I've told her, I've said Grumpy Aaliyah is going to keep you from getting a lot of the things that you want. So you've got to tell Grumpy Aaliyah that she needs to control herself. No grumpy bears.
That's right. No yucky bears, no grumpy bears. So you might even have to, instead of when she starts being that way, it may be like the cartoon Droopy from when you were a little kid, where Droopy used to hold up the signs, "I'm so happy, I'm sad." And you just pass her aside or hold up a sign. Grumpy bear.
We really do use that in our house now.
I have a kindergarten teacher who still uses the yucky and grumpy bears in her classroom. Because the kids started doing it because they heard me doing it with my son.
Uh-huh.
Are you being a yucky bear? And so then the other kids started doing that to the other kids. You're being a yucky bear. And my son was like, stop it. All of you stop it.
Oh.
So that's what it turned into. So-and-so's being a yucky bear.
Oh.
Kayla's being a yucky bear. No, I'm
Oh.
not.
I wonder if it would work with my real badass high school kids. Are you going to be a grumpy bear today?
Oh, no, it does work because when I worked in a juvenile facility, and these are all supposed to be hardened criminals, I would refer to my kids by various different things, but you know, I would go into one of my groups and I'm like, so how are my fine young cannibals today? And they'd be like, we're not cannibals, we don't eat people. And you know, so but they started to pick up that part of my personality. And so I'd be like, all right, so who's gonna be a yucky bear today? Because you know what happens if y'all are yucky bears. If y'all are yucky bears, I'm a yucky bear. We're not gonna be yucky. And so yes, these are supposed to be hardened criminals, but because they got treated like kids, it was like so-and-so's being yucky, and we're not over there with them because you said if we don't do it, we don't get in trouble with the yucky people. I'd be
Well,
like, all right, who
go
has
ahead.
to go potty?
Well, I'm pulling out the tickets tomorrow. I made a special trip to Walmart today to go get a roll of tickets because all my other tickets are buried somewhere in my garage. So I bought a roll of tickets at Walmart today, and I'm gonna start. I can hand them out like candy. I can hand them out,
But
and
what are you gonna tell them?
you've earned it.
And you almost have to let them know, hey, I'm gonna be starting something.
Oh yeah, I have to tell them about it beforehand. Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
if you earn it, you get it.
Yes.
If you're being yucky, then you're not going to earn it, and you're going to be upset when you see everybody else able to cash in their tickets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. I usually use them for things like, people who contribute to in class, or like I might put a problem and everybody who gets the right answer gets it, or everybody who's made an attempt might get a ticket, or if you get it right, you get a second ticket. Just different things, just different things. But with kids needing so much immediate gratification, the tickets really work. And then I let them put their names on them and have a drawing. And I've been able to get from auction sites. I've been able to get like cases of chips that like might have expired. They might have had a Best Buy date 2 months ago, but they're still good.
Yes. And
So
it's kids, they're gonna eat them.
absolutely.
Something
I
you might be able to put in your classroom, or have one of your kids who's artistic, have them draw you some various things. What would a yucky lizard look like? What would a yucky bear look like? And so they could earn a ticket for giving you the drawing. And then you may even be able to laminate it and have it up in your room. And when kids are acting up and doing whatever, is somebody acting like, you know, Lenny the Louse, and Lenny the Louse is a yucky lizard.
Are
And
you?
you're not
And I
calling
can see it
anybody
now. I
out.
can see it now, though. You're calling me a lizard. I
Is
mean, they
somebody
get.
no, but you're not calling anybody specific out. Like, is somebody acting like?
Gotcha.
But this goes back to that saying, hit dogs bark. So if somebody all of a sudden points themselves out, but all you said was, is somebody acting like? And so that's a way of giving a prompt without actually having to prompt them.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
Is somebody having a difficult day? Is somebody acting like Lenny? Is somebody acting like Mr. Grumpy Bear? It's just different.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could be like but then you also have someone else like, oh, is somebody like Helpful Harry or Helpful Helen? And they have, and in the pictures, somebody helping somebody else.
Yeah.
And that way you're not calling anybody specifically out, but you're acknowledging it, because there's a lot of people who get embarrassed if you specifically say, look at what Carla's doing. Carla's taking care of her, her classmate, this, that, and the third.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if you're just calling out these generic things, but you're not specifically saying who's doing it. Yes, they want instant gratification, but they also want the kudos.
Mm-hmm. Mhm. I'm interested to see if the tickets affect some of the ones I'm hoping it will affect. Because like one of them, and they saw the case of chips I got up there, and one of the kids was like, "Oh, you got any snacks up there? I'll pay you $1." And I'm like, "Can't buy them with money." I said, "You can buy them with a finished assignment." And I don't know. I don't. He didn't. I don't think he got finished. I don't know that he even worked on it. But tickets will. I think the tickets will be helpful.
But that's why you do it. It's to earn it. And like I
Mhm.
said, sometimes those non-direct prompts are going to be enough to get them back on
Mhm.
because you're not specifically pointing anybody else, so they don't have to be tough. They don't
Mhm.
have to try to be, Miss Durham was mean to me and she pointed me out in front of everybody.
Mhm.
Because like I said, working with the kids, even in a jail setup, um, they started to police themselves because they knew what the expectations were.
Mhm.
So every time we started, and when the day started, my staff would go in and they gave the same speech every day to the point that the kids could recite the speech they could recite it. And so, it's the beginning of the shift. How y'all doing? We're gonna have a good day. We're gonna do this, this, and this. This is our expectation. This is what you're gonna do. If you choose to do something else, that's your choice. Da 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 da. And so it became every day. And so you would get that staff member who would go in there. Well, they've heard me say this 30 times, and then all of a sudden they'd have a bad day, and they go, "Well, why'd I have a bad day? Because you changed the routine. You didn't tell the kids that this is what was going to happen. This was going
Mhm.
to be this. This was going to be that." So every day you give that same routine. And then if you know that you're going to be making a change to something else, hey, here's your heads up. In 5 minutes, we're going to be switching to X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So you need to go ahead and start wrapping this up.
Well, see, and that's where me being behind at the beginning of the year, I wasn't able to start some of those routines like I wanted to.
But you still
And
can start it now.
oh,
Now is better than
absolutely.
later.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
So now this is when you're going to, like I said, you're going to start building those routines with your kids so they know we're in class. Miss Durham's going to go, hey, this is what we're doing today. This is our behavior. This is our expectation. This is how you're going to earn tickets today if you earn them.
Hmm.
So
Well,
there's
we're still working on the routine for the morning bedtime or the morning. We're still working on the morning routine. I think we're slowly getting there, but one of my friends was telling me that she thinks it's it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to get into the routine with everybody.
and sometimes as crazy as it sounds, doing something that seems high energy to you is going to trigger them every morning. So, example, um, a lot of times I didn't work the units in the morning, but then
Mhm.
there was a stretch for like 6 weeks where I had to work the unit. So I gave my whole spiel, and then at the end of it, I would always end with a joke. And so for like 3 weeks, I ended with a different joke. Then one day I was just gonna walk off. Mr. Woods, Mr. Woods. What? Mr. Woods, you didn't end with a joke. Or when I would go wake him up, I'd be sitting there and it was just me trying to be silly because I wasn't a morning person either. So I'm sitting there walking around, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning to you. And a lot of times I'd say their name and they'd be like, and like I said, so then I had them for like 6 weeks. I had to go wake them up and then somebody else would come in because I'd go do whatever else. They got to that point where they were like, Mr. Woods, are you gonna work out dorm this morning? Why? Well, we like the way that you wake us up and you talk to us and you do this and you do that. Well, why don't you ask the other staff to do it? Because they won't do it. And me and my counterpart, whenever we worked the door, they knew that he was going to be grumpy, but they knew what our routine was. So every day they knew our routine. So they looked forward to it. And so they were like, I was about to give my spill. And one of the kids said, we know the spill, Mr. Woods. I said, all right, what's the spill? And then they ran it down. And then Jones was in there with me. And then Jones was about to say his part. They said, another kid was like, yeah, Mr. Jones, we know your part too. And then they ran it down. And so then a third kid was about to say some third kid. So this is our expectations. This is what we're going to be held accountable for. This is our first warning. And so then we went to do whatever. And they were like, all right, so now we're going to clean up our rooms. We're going to make sure everything is this. And then we're going to go to breakfast because we know that you're not going to let us out to do this, this, and this till y'all do this. Yes. And so that was every morning while we were there because we said it so much. And then when it was time to do the next activity, because we had a routine, oh, yeah, hey, I'd be like, hey, it's 5 minutes. And then one of the kids would be like, hold on, we got it. All right, it's 5 minutes to the next activity. We need to go ahead and start wrapping up now. We're going to be going to bathroom breaks at the end of this 5-minute period before we start the next class, because we're not letting people out to go to class, go to the bathroom during class unless it's an emergency. And like I said, because we became so routine, that went from the worst group to the best group. And then when they moved us, the kids actually asked us to come back because they said the staff wasn't holding them accountable. Because they wanted that structure, they wanted that routine, and they wanted us to make them feel safe.
Yeah.
Because the routine made them feel safe.
Yeah.
Because there were no tough guys on the door when we were there because we called them out. Don't be tough now when so-and-so was taking your food, we had to let you eat. So we ran it in a certain way and the kids felt safe because they knew our routine. And it became muscle memory. Kind of like with your kids, as much as they didn't like you telling them to go to bed at a certain time, they've all kind of started, mom's about to come around. Even if you fall asleep, you wake up around that certain time. Are y'all in bed? The routine will help you, whether it's your kids or somebody else's kids or yourself. You taking your meds, you look like you're about to pass out.
I can't because I've still got to go get my geometry at least for the next day or two.
That's what I just said. Or you're looking like, I'm tired.
I am.
All right. So then I will get you to send me the information that you've been taking down after we do this, and I'll review it. And then tomorrow night, I will go over with it and I will talk with you and we can see what adjustments we need to make so we can get you into a better groove, okay?
Okay.
All right. So have a good night.
Thank you. You too.